Hey there, happy painters. What is up? Thanks for joining me today for another painting. This one is going to be fun and interesting, and I would like to say a lot to you guys that is not my goal to avoid failures in paintings. In fact, if I make failed paintings, I consider that a victory because I'm continuing to be bold and experiment and try new things. And that probably sounds like such an interesting caveat to say before a painting video. But I'm doing something totally brand new this time, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out. But it's going to be fun and interesting, and I'm going to learn something in the process. So as always, I make a sticky note of one thing I want to do differently with my painting. And my sticky note for this time is the word graffiti. And what I mean by that, what that signal is for me as I'm painting is, for this work, I want to incorporate some graffiti, kind of like hand lettering style, into painting. So my last painting, you may have seen the video, I painted a salt shaker. And I've been exploring with different graffiti styles for about a week and a half now. I don't know what got this on my radar. Maybe there's an artist on YouTube that I follow called Cynic's Design. And every once in a while he incorporates some graffiti kind of lettering. He's really skilled at it, and I just thought it'd be kind of cool if I, did a normal, traditional kind of still life, but then I put in some kind of cheeky graffiti word behind it or in front of it or something like that. So for this painting, I'm gonna paint a salt shaker again, but this time doing it larger, and I'm gonna put the word salty in the background behind the salt shaker. I love my puns, so I had to pick something that was a pun. So I'm going to get started. If you look in the top right, you can see kind of what I'm working with here. I've done a few studies to get ready for this work. I obviously painted a salt shaker once, kind of just to get my bearings on that. And then in addition to that, I've been sketching different kind of cool graffiti styles that I thought might work with a painting like this. So I've been in my sketchbook a lot doing graffiti drawings, and in addition to that, I've been using Procreate a little bit. And last night I did a Procreate mock-up of what this final painting might end up looking like, and I'll put that on the right side of the screen as well, so you can kind of see basically what I'm thinking as I do it. But yeah, I still want to remain open. I don't have like really hard set plans for the brush style that I'm using for this, or how I want to apply paint, or anything like that really. All that I know is I want to make a salty graffiti salt shaker. And it may end up not looking very realistic. I'm expecting I might run into some trouble making the text kind of appear like it belongs with the rest of the painting. So that's one challenge that I know I'm going to face and try to make work in this, incorporating a very stylized text with, a real life object that catches light in a certain way, and all the things that go along with that. So how am I going to handle cast shadow onto the graffiti? That's a challenge that I'm going to need to face as I'm painting. How's the graffiti going to look behind a piece of glass that is going to alter the light a little bit? So these are some things I'm going to be working with. And I'm adjusting my model right now to get it a little bit closer to the angle that I want. So I'm using charcoal right now to do a little charcoal drawing. Sometimes I sketch in paint, sometimes I sketch in charcoal. Something I've experimented with both of them, and the reason why I thought that charcoal might be a little bit of a better choice than paint is because I'm not sure if I'll get the drawing correct on the graffiti portion very easily, and I don't want paint to get all mushy and have to not only battle figuring out graffiti on this painting, but also dealing with paint that's too thick and starting to gather up and all of that. So yeah, and then in addition to that, I'm expecting that this will probably end up being pretty stylized, and that might be what saves me in this painting, is if I keep this salt shaker a little, pop art looking and maybe posterized or something like that, then it might not look weird next to my graffiti. But I don't know, who knows? I've never incorporated graffiti and a still life painting before, and I don't think too many people have. That's one of the things that kind of intrigued me about this, was it seemed kind of original. Probably isn't. There's probably millions of people that have done this, and I just haven't found them yet. But I don't know. At least to me, it seemed like an interesting challenge, and I think graffiti is just so dang cool. I definitely have plans to use it more and more in different applications, and I thought this would be kind of a fun and interesting way to tackle it this time. Alright, so I'm going to handle some drawing of the graffiti now, and let's see, it looks like I've got a line split directly down the middle, which is helpful for me. I want these letters to be like kind of equal widths, or at least the vertical portions. I want to have like a uniformity to them. So it's nice that I've got a couple dividing lines to help me out here. Now, as I'm looking at the subject, there's a really cool bend that this line makes when you see it through the glass. And that's going to really help me to make this texture look believable if I do something kind of crazy like that. So we'll do that, and then alright, now I'm gonna divide and conquer. Let's get these vertical lines in. So we have 5 evenly divided portions here. And this line in the middle is the middle of one of my letters, which means this portion here is going to cover one of my letters. See, this is why I don't want to use paint right now, is because with this charcoal I can just erase and it's totally gone. I don't have to do any wrestling. Alright, and I'll start with just the top portion, and then I'll kind of drag the line down once I am convinced that my lines are pretty good. I'm actually going to erase this middle one for a minute because it's going to help me to examine these widths and make sure that they're, more or less even with each other. Alright, let's see here. So the middle portion is obviously too wide, and the other portions look pretty dang uniform, so I know I'm close. So let's thin this guy out. Ooh, we are much, much closer to victory now. Alright, and you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect either. But I do want to get it pretty close, because I may be spending a good bit of time on this painting. I don't know how long it's going to take. But generally, the bigger you paint, the more time it's going to take to make the painting. One way to work around that, and I'm going to do it, is to use bigger brushes. Mix a lot of paint load that paint up with a big old brush, and you can cover territory a lot faster than if you've got just a little teensy weensy size 4 brush or something like that. It's going to take a long time to paint a big painting if you're only using a small brush. And there are lots of other great reasons to use a larger brush too. I'm checking my angles right now. I'm seeing how this A is going to respond in the glass, and this one does something wackadoo too. I love it. Kind of starts way over here and then curves, does some squigglies, comes down there. That's awesome. That's going to be a fun looking effect when I'm done. Right, the T kind of does that too, but it disappears a little bit more. I know you can't even see a T yet, but hopefully I've still got my my subject up there so you know what the heck I'm talking about. Alright, and then a third of the way here, we get the leg of the T going down. This is fun. I love doing something different with painting. Oops, and that's not where my line's going to go. These little challenges make painting just feel so fresh and interesting. I really love it. Alright, let's make these letters appear now. And I've got this line down the middle, and what I want to do there is have like a gradient of color. But then in terms of making these letters, I kind of want to go like a third of the way for the critical identifying marks that are going to make you recognize what the heck this letter is. So that seems, that needs to go a little bit lower. Maybe a little bit lower than that. Alright, now I'm going to back up, because that's going to help me to judge these relationships a little bit better. So I'm kind of leaning back and looking and saying, alright, do I need to tweak anything? If my nose is right up against the painting, the whole painting through, then by the end I'm going to find out that some of my relationships are weird, and I could have prevented them if I'd taken a second to step back and try to see the whole big picture. It's really easy to forget to look at the whole big picture while you're painting, because you're in Zen mode, you know? You're into it. You're focused on the little relationships and just having a good old time. But it's nice to take these breaks to step away and make sure that you're accomplishing your main goal in the painting. Getting something that's looking like you really want it to look. You really notice that with like portraits and stuff. A portrait can go way, way off while you're in the thick of it, and you don't even realize it until, oh boy, it doesn't look like you wanted it to look. Okay, now in my preparatory drawings, I wanted to make sure that for this L, that there was a little bit of space to make it legible. And I think I might have made my salt shaker so big that you can't exactly catch some of the identifying marks of the middle letter. And so now I need to take a moment and decide, is it important enough for me to redraw this whole salt shaker, or at least adjust it so that you can tell that that middle letter is an L. Let's see here. I'm gonna see if it's okay for me to hide that marker of the L. Let's see. So I'll finish drawing these letters out, and then we'll see if we can identify the text. See if we can identify that it says salty. Alright, and then for this Y, get that line here. Letters are so fun and interesting to play around with. I have so much respect for graphic design, and I really see the artistry of it. It's amazing what kind of impact and feeling you can get out of letters. It's no wonder to me that hand lettering is, so popular now, becoming more and more popular as an art, because it's just fascinating and beautiful. All right, so I think I can tell that this is S. I can recognize this T and this Y, but the A and my L are kind of getting lost. And so as much as I hate to redraw this beautiful salt shaker, I think I'm gonna need to shrink it down. That's why developing a process can be so efficient and invaluable when you're painting. If I had done the graffiti first, then I could have sized up the subject in front appropriately so that the graffiti would be legible. But this is, my first time doing it, so I didn't realize, it would have been really smart for me to start with the graffiti. Those are the kinds of benefits you get from doing the same process a couple times. And no doubt next time I do my future graffiti painting, I'm going to keep that in mind, and I'm going to paint quicker and more efficiently because the drawing gets done quicker. Alright, so let's see if I shrink that down, how does that affect my lettering? Gives me that nice horizontal line there that's going to communicate a lot of letter information. Real solid T right there. And then, let's see. I think I might have made a drawing error, actually. Yeah. I guess, the line of my T should be going right there. Not where I'd initially placed it. So then that gets erased out. Okay. And there's a vertical line right there. That's better. I think I need to make the salt shaker a little bit lower than that even though, to really communicate what's going on right here with the letters. It's worth it for me to make the subject a little bit smaller so that this information comes out clearly. Yeah, see, that's way more believable as an L than I had previously. So I'm really, really happy that I shrunk that down. In a moment, I'll take a look at the rest of the salt shaker and decide if I need to make any other adjustments. I don't care about a perfect drawing for the salt shaker in this piece, but I want a good one. I don't want it to be weird, especially since this is a bigger painting, so I'm making more of a time commitment. I'm very used to tiny paintings, 8x8s mostly, but also 6x6s. The reason I like those is because I can get in and out. I can do my art and then be out and ready for the next piece, which will be a new challenge or opportunity to learn more about art or to just get on with my life. I'm not the kind of person that enjoys getting really bogged down in details with a piece. And I know some people adore that, and I get it. Seeing a painting that's like super duper rendered and complete looking really is stunning and beautiful. But I lack the patience for that oftentimes. Maybe that's something I'll get better at the more I paint. But as soon as I paint for longer than, 3 hours, I guess, my attention starts to fail. My paintings start looking worse and worse because I'm losing the energy or the will to stay focused on something. That's one of the benefits of creating art that you really are into, choosing painting subjects that inspire you, because that obsessive attention, that ability to get into the flow state is where a lot of the art magic comes from, if that makes any sense. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about the flow state in art, and I'm planning at some point to do a short little YouTube video about it, but I really want to spend some time on a future painting just really waxing eloquent about it. So in this painting you might hear some of my initial ramblings about flow state and painting. I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. Let's lean back and see how we're doing. Alright, this salt shaker is a little bit more squat than the one in real life. But do I care about that? I don't know if that really bothers me, to be honest. It still looks like a salt shaker. Maybe I'll make it a little bit taller. I'd like to make these decisions now rather than later. That way I can spend more mental energy thinking about how to lay down paint without making it weird and blendy, especially since I've got outline here next to probably a bright yellow. I don't know how that's going to handle with oil paints. Acrylic would be awesome because I could paint the yellow, wait for it to dry, and then slap on a black layer right there. But I've chosen oil. One thing is enough to mix up. I'll tackle more acrylics in the future for show, because I love acrylics too. I'm fascinated by the different effects that you can get out of acrylic. I'm excited to layer things and do fun stuff like that. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. Is there any other drawing that I can take care of right now that will make my life easier? The more I can do now, the more thinking I can do right now, the less pain I'm going to have as I go through this. Preparation will get you really far in painting, because you're already juggling a million things in your brain. When you're juggling, you're multitasking. And when you're multitasking, you're not going to do as well as if you're able to focus. So that's why planning is so powerful, because it frees up that mental RAM so you can focus on the other challenge rather than the challenge that you've tackled in the past and can coast on in the future. Okay. So I've got some shadow shapes in here, some reflective shapes. May or may not be right, but that's okay. I need to redraw this arch that happens in the glass. And let's see. I don't like drawing with charcoal, actually, because of this. I have this weird ism where I hate to have messy hands. I can't even eat like chicken wings or anything like that. It's torture to me because I don't like having stuff on my hands. And charcoal is like fully committed. But one thing I found out in previous stuff is that pencil doesn't show through quite as well when you've toned a canvas like this and all that. So for the love of art, I'm getting my hands messy. I must really love art. Okay, and then show some love to this salt for a minute. There's a little shadow coming here from the edge. And then I'm squinting and trying to look for any other shadow shapes on the very front of that salt. And it does look like there's some kind of thing happening right here, some kind of shadowy thing. Slightly darker there, which probably means there's like a little bump in the salt shaker or something. Then let's get that cast shadow. And I haven't decided yet how I want to treat the shadow on the graffiti, but I am gonna draw some initial shadow shapes because I'm in drawing phase right now, so easier for me to tackle that now than later. Then there's like some crazy light areas come up there. Okay, so at least I put down some information and I can choose to do with that what I will later. A little bit more shadow. Alright, cool. So, I've got a drawing. Now let's move to some color mixing. And I've already got a bit of a palette from the last salt shaker painting that I did. And yeah, I want to kind of use the same foreground and background color as I did before. So I've got a starting point. But now I need to think, do I have enough paint for each of these? And that's the big thing I'm doing right now, is making sure that midway through the painting I don't have to remix, hopefully. So let's see. Oh, I put my paints away, so let me go get those again. Alright, here we go. I think we've got all the paints we need. Oh wait, one more. Okay, so now we've got all the paints we need. So I'll add some more titanium white here. And now, what are we working with? Let's start. So I'm looking at the subject, and I've also pulled up my Procreate study so I can figure out what paints we're going to need. For starters, the foreground. I've got these mixtures right here from the previous painting, and based on the size, I think I need some more paint. Yeah, so alright, shadow, that's fine, that'll get us there. This is my mid-tone foreground. And yeah, actually, you know, I might be able to get by with that. Let's mix a bit more mid-tone and light, just to make sure that we don't run out. my naphthol red has gotten all tacky, so I'm going to put some more down. Oh, and by the way, if you want to know what materials I'm using for this, take a look at the description. It'll let you know what you want to get if you want to use the exact same stuff as me. And feel free to do a copy of this painting that I'm making. You can paint along with me, all that stuff. Copies are great. Copies are a wonderful way to get better. Let's see, so there's something I wanted to talk about during this painting. I just brought it up a minute ago. Oh yeah, the idea of the flow state in painting. Do you ever notice when you're creating art that time just seems to disappear? You can just get lost in something you're making, and then all of a sudden 3 hours has gone by, and you don't know where it went. And you may also notice that when you're painting, you feel more relaxed than you normally would. Somehow you were able to forget the stresses and the pressures of the day. Just make something beautiful, and you feel a little bit better afterwards. I think painting is a form of meditation in a way. And I don't mean to go all woo-woo on you. By meditation, I mean intentional focus. And there's something about intentional focus that our brain just really, really loves. Maybe it's because we don't get much of it these days. I think painting is like the perfect answer for a culture now where it's very hard for us to pay attention to a single thing. We're constantly being distracted by our phones, or just by life in general. Life is busy and distracting. And so our brains are like, these days they're constantly in a state of, ADD almost. There's so many things grabbing at our attention that our brain never sits still. And I think in a world where attention becomes more and more difficult, the more connected we get, the more communicative our culture becomes, the more important I think it is that we're able to escape for a little bit sometimes and focus. Do one single task and just let everything else in our day go. Concerns about bills or food or relationships and all that, just forgetting about them for a minute. I know I really need that these days. I personally struggle a lot with cell phone addiction, I guess is the best way to put it. With my art business, I can very quickly and easily get obsessed with numbers and hopping around through 6 different apps, just analyzing how my latest post went or how my latest YouTube video is doing, if people liked my Instagram picture, what my other artist friends are up to. And I end up checking my phone 5 minutes after I just checked it. And there's nothing new. The world hasn't changed in the 5 minutes. But my mind was by itself for a minute, and I'd grown uncomfortable with my mind being alone with its own thoughts. That's something I've been working on a lot over the past 6 months, and a regular painting practice has really helped me with that. Because when you're painting, you're focused on the colors, you're living with the shapes. The other stuff kind of just gets forgotten for a little bit. I really think that makes our brains happy. I know it makes my brain happy. So I think you're experiencing a pretty special and rare thing as an artist. Something that, normal meditation practitioners may spend years trying to develop and get better at. And we can just dive into some art and reap the benefits of flow state. So if you're in a really, really busy season, that may be a good time to make sure you don't neglect your art practice. What is it? They say that when you're busiest, it's the most important time to eat healthy, to get exercise, to, do all the things you should do all the time. It's difficult when, you have limited hours. But those busy times are also when it's easiest to crash and burn. And maybe giving your brain and your body a little bit of love can keep you from crashing and burning when stuff is a little bit wild. Listen to me ramble. Alright, these are not correct. I need to go way darker. Somehow I got off course. I honestly care even less about color on this painting than I did on my previous one. This is a style painting. I want to get style right. And it doesn't bother me if my colors get wonky or fall apart a bit. But I'm not thinking about style right now, so I can spare some mental energy to think about color. Pre-planning. The more I think right now, the more I prepare right now, the more success I'm going to have with the finished painting. Planning will get you far in art. Alright, I mixed some metallic colors. I can tweak those later. I will tweak those later. Let's see. Let's look at our salt colors. So that's what I've got right here. They're not tacky yet. That's good. Let's get some more whites, and I was happy with those colors last time, so I may aim to recreate the exact ones I did. Oh, got some white on my fingers. So, if you've seen previous videos, you've heard me say that when you're pre-mixing, it's nice to get a light, a medium, and a dark for every different area of your painting. That's more or less what I'm following. I'm getting a light, medium, dark, or at least a light and a dark for the main areas, which would be the salt, the metallic elements, the graffiti, the foreground, the background, and then there's the background seen through the glass, as well as some other glass issues that I'll have to mix colors to solve. By issues, I mean, how do I make that glass look like glass? And color is the thing that's going to get me making that look like glass. And I said this in the last video, but in case you didn't see that, the answer is that when you look through glass, it's either lighter or darker than the actual background, depending on the lighting situation. And the colors are duller when you look through the glass. So those are the changes you make to the colors to really convey the idea that you're looking through something. Alright, I made that too blue, so let's gray it down. The way you gray something down is you mix in the complementary color. Blue's complementary color is orange, so I just mixed in red and yellow, which is orange. and that dulls things down a little bit. Okay, probably not enough for the salt. So let's see. Well, that may work. Let's go with it. Alright, for the background, if you're looking at my subject right now, the background is white, but I'm going to recreate more or less the background color that I had in the previous painting, which was like a teal color, really pretty teal color. So I'm throwing together all the teals that I've got on my easel right now. I don't need much because that salty is taking up almost everything. But this teal should make the yellow pop pretty nicely. So there we go, that's cool. I've got a mixed black that I'm going to use for the occluded areas of the painting. So the very bottom of the salt shaker. And then also I need a mixed black for my outline, which means we're going to need quite a bit of black for this painting. So let's get some more blue and some more red. Mixing your own black is good painting practice compared to just buying a tube of ivory black or something like that. What's nice about mixing your own, aside from the fact that it helps you to see color better, it's good training, but it also gives you a black that sits more naturally within the painting. There's millions and millions of different tones of blacks. It's just low value color. So you can have greenish blacks, you can have bluish blacks, you can have purplish blacks, just like any other color. And when you mix your own black, there's something about how it sits in with the other colors that just, I don't know, it looks a little bit more like it actually belongs there when you mix it. And you can nudge it in temperature, you can warm down the black, you can cool it down. And obviously you can do that with ivory black too, but only if you understand how mixing colors works. I think I've mixed everything except for salty, my graffiti letters. And so, I think I'm going to go for a big bold yellow. Maybe straight from the tube. I don't want it to be contaminated, so I'll put it here in the corner where there's no other color there. And then I had the thought of doing like a gradient effect, where like maybe the top of salty would be orange, and then it would like gradient down into yellow. And so my options would be yellow ochre. I thought about maybe using that as the top part, or something with yellow ochre. Or I could go really, really funky and do like an orange mixture, yellow and red. And I think I'm going to start funky, actually. I might paint over my orange if it's just too garish. If it just overtakes everything in the painting. But let's start funky. Pull it back if we need to. I also don't want this to look McDonald's. So that's another argument against garish. But we'll see. Oh yeah, I'm gonna hate that. That is definitely gonna make me think of McDonald's. Let's throw some yellow ochre in there. And some more yellow. Mix, mix, mix. Yellow ochre is very opaque, so That should impact this mixture a lot. Okay, that's a good starter. I'll start with it. Alright, so we've got our drawing done, got some paint colors mixed. I think we're ready to start painting.